Welcome to Angel's Table. Today we will be discussing the Detroit independent film market. Joining me are, of course, Denise Graham. Denise will be discussing her perspective from the independent producer and writer, and the lovely Aida Munoz. I knew I was going to get it right. Who is a filmmaker and an actress, and Ted Hauser, who is also a director, and Tessa Hawks, who is a costume designer. So I'm going to let you start and just talk a little bit about what you do in the industry. Tessa is also a talent agent manager. So go ahead and...
Well, I'm a costume designer. I actually work with...
It's okay. She's not used to being in front of the camera.
No, I'm not. So sorry. Okay.
That's okay.
I actually work with Oscar de la Rente. I learned how to train with my mom. And I started sewing for entertainers, and my dad became an actress and started working as a costume designer in movie sets.
Right. How long have you been designing costumes?
Oh gosh, that will date me. I started sewing when I was 12, so I've been in it for a minute, and I'm 50 now, so it's a couple minutes.
Okay. How long in the film industry?
In the film industry, 2 years.
Okay. And then it's a lot of...
But as for working for actors, I've been doing that for about 12 years.
Oh, okay. So my question for you is, within the Detroit film market, has there been quite a bit of work for you, and how has it changed since the film incentive disappeared? Are you still finding...
It's a struggle. It really is a struggle. There's some work, there's not as much. With the film industry, we would be employed for 6 to 8 weeks. Now it's one commercial a month here and there. So it really is a struggle to live in Michigan when you're in this industry to find work. And sad to say, sometimes you have to leave the state to get work.
And you go out of state quite a bit for your job.
But I would love to stay here.
Yeah, yes. That's, I think, what we all want to do, is to primarily do our job from Michigan. And Ted, why don't you explain a little bit about what you're doing and how long you've been in the industry?
Yeah, well, I'm a filmmaker. I'm a writer-director, and I work on independent projects, so shorts and features. I am new to Michigan a little bit. I grew up here. But I spent 7 years in Los Angeles right after school. So I thought I was going to take a more traditional route, right? Go to Los Angeles and started from there. And I worked many jobs over there, and I really enjoyed living there. But what I really wanted to do was make movies. I really wanted to be a director, and I just didn't have much opportunities there. Especially not to make my own independent films. So I already knew what was going on here. I already knew that there was crew. Many of my friends stayed in Michigan. Many of my friends worked on the big productions that came into Michigan. So I moved back. And the incentives don't really play necessarily into what I do, because I'm making smaller budget independent films. So I'm not bringing in big budgets to work on big crews. Thank you. Yes. And so what I'm focusing on is making my own projects. But of course, I run into people like you all the time. I run into crew. I run into actors. I run into funders, producers, film festival people. Right. So it's still part of the network. So
that's really cool. My ultimate goal is that I will be the person who's funding. I really, that is what I would love to do ultimately, is to be able to help people see their dreams. So that's my long-term goal. Hopefully not too long, but that is my long-term goal. Aida, please tell us about yourself.
Yes, I'm a professional actor. I've been in this business for a while. A little bit more than 1 minute, but and I work with Brian Lawrence. We have a studio called the Actors Workshop, and we've been in business there since 1984. And so, in addition to being acting teachers, we're also independent filmmakers. We have a little bit of a track record with a couple features that have both enjoyed distribution, and we're getting ready to work on a third project. And we also work a lot with actors in our classes, and as some people know, I also specialize in professional children, ages 4 to 16 or 17, and that includes a program that I have called Young Actors Program.
Okay.
And I also do private coaching too.
Awesome. Yes, I met Aida through the program. Which
Yes.
I really truly think that you and Brian have one of the best acting forums.
Great.
I mean, I came to it as, I don't know if you remember that when I came, I was actually doing research for Sullivan.
Yes.
And so I had no intention. I was coming to sit in and watch.
Yes.
Well, Brian wasn't having anything to do with that. Like, you're sitting there.
Right.
Which is why I met Tony, our
Yes.
co-producer. And he also was the same way. He's like, you're not just going to sit here, you're going to really get into this. So, yeah, great program for
And you
anybody
bring
out
up
there
a
looking for.
really good point, and that we always emphasize. Not only is this a very social business, it's important to get to know people and be mutually supportive, but I think crew and writers should always take at least one little acting class to gain that perspective.
Yeah.
And I think actors should learn crew stuff a little bit too. And I think that makes for a better, well-rounded person.
Right, so maybe I need to start learning a little bit about extension cords and cables.
You know, that's funny. One of the first things I learned as an independent filmmaker many, many years ago was exactly how to wrap a cord. Over, under, and I've never forgotten that. So I think you're
Oh,
right.
you'll have to
Then you
teach
can
me that,
just
'cause
toss it in right time after.
I usually do it around my arm, and if they're really long, it's like, okay, wait, this isn't working so much, and I take it apart, and it's like, well, that was messy, but yes. Okay, so Denise, tell us about your production.
Well, I started as an actor a few years ago, and it was interesting about the costumes in this area because most of the independent film people want you to bring your own wardrobe, and well, which was fine for me before I gained 60 pounds, and all of a sudden it's like, well, they want something different. I don't have any, it's very limited,
Right.
and that is something that is a real issue that people may not think about because they say, oh, everybody's got, this kind of clothing or that kind of clothing.
Right.
But I actually started as an actor, and I found that there weren't a lot of roles for people that looked like me. And I always liked to write, and that was why I started writing, so that I could have roles for me that didn't involve being a cleaning lady or a maid or something like that.
Right.
And so I found a lot of other people that had similar issues. And so the first short film that I wrote kind of dealt with those cast. That was the cast.
Okay.
People that don't traditionally fit. They don't even really. At my age, which I'm not going to disclose, there really aren't a lot of roles, and even for the best friend or something of the main character, they still want a 30-something or 20-something person, and it's just not. There are not a lot of roles, so that was why I started writing.
Right. And it's interesting because, I was thinking about that relatively recently, how there are so many movies that have younger people in them, and it's not that I don't enjoy them, and it's not that I'm looking for people my age, but often the movies that have a little more substance are movies with people in them.
And they have more longevity.
Right.
As far as
of course, that may be because I'm looking for something different in a film now. I've watched all the stuff that the young people are watching, and I'm a little bit over it, or not that I don't enjoy them, because I pretty much can enjoy almost anything. I don't really necessarily enjoy extreme violence, but there's a lot of stuff that I do enjoy, even though it has a lot of violence. And Parker has made me more open-minded about a lot of things, just to be well-rounded and understand the film industry.
And if it advances the story, then it makes sense.
Yeah,
but if it's
right.
just there just to be there.
Right.
I can second what Denise says too, because I think that's a frustration that has always been my situation too, is stereotyping and typecasting.
Right.
And so and then I realized it really starts with the writer. We need to encourage writers to include people who are older, because older actors are always better. They've had more time to improve as artists, and they have way more life experience. Last year there was there was a great film last year, 45 Years with Charlotte Rampling, and which had two older actors, and I think we're starting to see a little bit more, but it does start with the writer. You have to include diversity. You have to encourage filmmakers, independent filmmakers, to make their films appear like the street does. Include people of all backgrounds, and not just in stereotype roles. And that's why I think it's real important, because it all starts with the writer. So it's really good, interesting that you went to that.
Right. Well, it's interesting too that you say that about having a well-rounded cast, because I have friends who are in their 20s, that I go and have lunch with, and we have amazing friendships. So friendships aren't just everybody in their 20s or
I
30s.
totally agree. The smartest thing a young person can do is to befriend an older, wiser person. And I think even for me, because I'm a big feminist, is the future of feminism is in young men. And I think young men who, ages of 14 to 24, who are confused and still, trying to find their way or whatever, would really benefit by befriending an older woman that can help them socially, and can help them with life things, along all that. So that's a very good thing, because I think why are we restricted in these little boxes of age when all of us can gain by befriending people of all ages?
Right, I agree.
And you learn, you always learn things
Of
from
course.
people that are not just like you, because if you include people that you're just looking in the mirror, then you don't ever learn anything outside of your own experience.
Right. Okay, I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Since you've been to LA,
Yes.
and now you're back in Michigan again, and did you gain a lot of knowledge while you're in LA that you could bring back with you?
Yeah, basically for a production company, how they get material in, and material, I mean by scripts. You read the scripts, you write coverage, which is just basically a little report, and you see if the company's interested, and if the company is, you get an option, and then you sell it. That's very basic, kind of like independent production company 101.
Right.
You can kind of learn that anywhere, but the company I was working for was very kind of small and scrappy. We did a lot of work, but it was very low budget. So it was actually kind of prepped me for independent film production. I definitely liked what I worked there. You see the business completely not through rose-colored glasses. It's very plain, and you see the decisions people make, and all of the biases that are surrounding those decisions, just because all they care about is money, or making sure this person is happy or that person is happy. So then I mean, that being said, though, what kind of films I'm making here in Michigan are not the types of films that are really going to sell. I'm not making very commercial
You're not.
projects, no.
Which is that's a whole conversation
It
by
is.
itself.
Yeah.
Because I personally prefer that.
Right.
And it would be wonderful to have, a place where you can really see that. And that's a hard thing, because any of the artsy film theaters, they do have a draw, but certainly not like an Imagine, where you're having all the blockbusters. And, so, everything is so moved by money anymore that that by itself makes it hard. And, even getting funding for films. And so...
Well, there's some success. Things are up and down. Actually, right now I've noticed, and a lot of people have noticed, that there's a big trend for women, independent movies that have an older woman do really well right now. They have like a dame. Usually, that's the problem, is they need to have one of the 5 British women, the dames. There's a movie, The Lady in the Van.
Maggie Smith.
Judi Dench. Also,
I'm working on my English accent.
Eye in the Sky. That did real well. Basically, anything that has. So there's also a movie that's actually made here in Michigan called I'll See You in My Dreams. And that had.
You're not talking about Blythe Danner.
Blythe Danner.
That was shot here?
Yeah, that was shot here. It was produced locally. Yeah,
I didn't know that. I like that film a lot.
by Rebecca Green, who's a local Detroit-based producer, and that made money. So that is the latest trend. I assume because that's probably the audience, because you guys are going to see
That's
the
a
movie.
good film.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's great because that's really like that's what we need, because as you said, like right now money in independent cinema is not quite high right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, am I correct too in like Ava, is it
DuVernay?
DuVernay.
Yeah.
She is a huge trendsetter for
Yeah.
American,
Right.
for women
Mhm.
as directors.
Mhm.
It seems to be very trending right now.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
No, and she does a lot. She has like she has her own production company, but she even has this company that she started on the internet where they're self-distributing films. So if a film doesn't get, like, basically women, people of color, social justice based. So yeah, so she's doing a lot there too.
Right, she's, I think, the one that says we don't need to wait for the green light.
Right, yeah, we make
Right,
it ourselves. Yeah.
So, since you brought up distribution, and you, Aida, I know you're looking at Denise, but I'm talking to you. So, you've done 2 films, and you've had distribution on them.
Yes.
Was your process a difficult process to get those distributed?
It wasn't that difficult, and I have to say honestly, I wasn't real directly connected, and I served as more a line producer, more in the production kind of thing. But I think distribution has changed a lot since we were getting these films out, about 10 years ago or so. That is actually an area that I am researching right now, is how it's changed a lot. But basically, it at the time it was we went to the American film market, which is held every year. It's like a big fish market for film, but it was a great learning experience, and that's where we made the connections that we needed to make a distribution deal. I know that for an upcoming project that I've got going on, I will be probably seeking a producer's rep, which a lot of filmmakers that don't live in LA have a producer's rep that kind of represents their film and tries to make sure it gets seen by the right people and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be an interesting experience, for sure. So I'm looking forward to it.
Right, and I guess the reason why I'm so happy you're here is because you're having successes with what you do. So and you're doing it while staying in Michigan.
Yes,
So
I can address that too, because a lot of people have said, "Well, why didn't you move to LA or whatever?" Maybe personally, as an actor, I wasn't ready or as ambitious as I could have been. But as a filmmaker, there are a lot of advantages to working here. Not only great environment and like everybody else has said, the 4 seasons and a great landscape. We use the old Michigan train station, and we shot a sequence for one of our films there. And our editing, we did do all our post-production in LA. I will say that because at the time they were much more accommodating to filmmakers. Here in Detroit at the time, everything was so corporate, so by the hour, because the production houses were used to dealing with GM or Ford or and they just did not have the mentality. A filmmaker doesn't work that way. A filmmaker, the project it's a different animal. So anyway, they were much more accommodating, and we had an editor in Los Angeles, and when she looked at the footage of the train station, she said, "Where did you get these sets? These amazing places." So there are a lot of wonderful things about shooting here and resources, and I think you can shoot a film less expensively here. I still maintain that it's important to have connections in the center of the industry, when it's still Los Angeles, and it's kind of delusional to not recognize that. But
well, that sort of just goes back to that whole networking thing. That networking is you need it no matter what. And I really recommend going to LA just to make those connections, and even there's that site called Stage 32. Did you do that? I know you're on it, but Stage 32.
Yeah.
That, even being in Michigan, if you go on doing a plug for Stage 32 here, which I think, I really do. I feel like it's a great site because you can network with people all over the world. And when I was in LA, I used it for a lot of meetups where we would actually go and meet people in the industry, and it was a great tool for learning and meeting people.
Sure.
And some of those people I am close friends with now.
Good.
And I know where to go seeking people. So you can still do a lot of stuff
Absolutely.
while still being in Michigan. Like you said you're editing to LA. Now, I'm hoping that our editing here has progressed and that we are now in a position where our editors are good enough here that we can.
Well, the one thing that working in Los Angeles provided me too, like you say, it's always a learning experience, is that you realize the entertainment industry is huge. If you look at music and broadcast and this, that, and the other, and film. But if you take just the film business and the people that actually make film, it's not that big of a community. So it's easy to plug in and connect, and people know each other and that kind of thing. So I learned that too, that it isn't really that big of a behemoth. But I also learned too that in Los Angeles everything is highly specialized. If you're an editor, if you're, let's say you're a feature editor, you don't cut trailers. If you're a trailer editor, you don't cut features. It's just highly specialized. So that made me aware that the skill level and the expectations are a lot higher, because you have to pass QC in foreign countries, and you have to, the standards are pretty rigorous, and that's that.
That's probably for bigger productions, you think, for independent films? Because what I noticed being in LA is everybody did everything. Because you're always trying to find a way to make money, so everybody had 3 jobs. So.
That's a more recent phenomenon, though.
Okay.
I don't think it used
That's
to be
why I'm
quite
wondering
like
if
that.
things have changed, which is also why it's working for us here too, that we can do more independent things here and still have it work because of the internet.
And I would still, though, that's one thing Ted and I had talked about too before, is, with digital, there's the democratization, of film. Suddenly people can buy a camera and editing equipment, and it's sort of one-stop thing, right? They can do that. But you can't forget that there has to be skill behind the camera. There has to be an eye.
Right.
And I think it would really serve independent filmmakers well to study art, to go to art museums, to study what the great DPs do, great lighting, to understand film theory and criticism and all those kinds of things. You can't, just because you can access the tools, doesn't make you a great filmmaker. And I think you've got to remember that you must train yourself artistically, so that when you pick up that tool, you can shoot something meaningful.
And also be able to tell someone what they're doing right or wrong, and say, I'm not just the person, for my case, to be in front of the camera.
But also,
so I guess I need to be doing some schooling here.
But as a director, being able to tell somebody what you want. And a lot of times, if someone doesn't know, they don't know. They know what they want, but they don't know how to tell the actor what they're trying to get. And my experience was that I thought at one point I was ready to direct, but I decided that I'm not. Because I've seen directors look at a scene and know what needs to be changed in that scene for it to have any impact. And it's like, I wouldn't have thought of that. You had a great idea. And so I said, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to direct. I can write, but I need somebody that can look at that and say, and to give the person, the direction as a verb, so that they know what you're talking about.
Well, I think you hit on something that's really important, is that cinema is a language, and you have to be able to understand that language in order to tell a story. And directors can vary quite a bit. Some are really technical, and they understand what lenses are needed for what effect, and they know a lot about lighting, all that kind of stuff, and editing. And some of them, in terms of actors, just let an actor do his thing. They're like Stanley Kubrick would never give much in the way of. He'd say, "That's your job as an actor. You figure it out. I'm not doing that. You're doing it."
Right.
And other directors, where they have a much closer connection with an actor and kind of work it out, and they discuss and all that kind of stuff. So it can vary. Directors vary a lot, from the really technical to directors that are more like theater directors. But you have to be. Film is a language, and you have to learn its grammar. And the best way to do that is to watch great films. Start with, I think a master of film grammar is Alfred Hitchcock.
Right. Okay, I want to ask you a little bit more about costumes. With costumes, do you feel? Let me think of something you said triggered this, and I've now lost the thought. Do you work really closely with the directors to get the right sense of the camera? Do you understand the camera and the clothes and how they're gonna look and feel on camera? I mean, that's
Usually when I work with a production, it's usually me and the director. And we figure out what's the scene, what's the mood, what's the era, time period, and then we kind of go from there. And then also the set dresser, because believe it or not, some of my costuming, there's gray areas that it may cross over. So basically we come up with some drawings and concepts and work together as a team before I go out and buy what we need or find the items.
Yeah, I always think it's an interesting, because for me, I always have to bring my own clothes, and I always thought, can't wait till the day that I can show up and not have to be lugging 10 million things with me. That's the one thing.
But the
With the
other part of
Detroit
it is-
industry, it's like I don't want to have to do that anymore, and I think we're still there.
You know, you're
And
funny when
that's-
you say that too, because as a filmmaker, that's my dream, is to have all the costumes designed.
Right.
So that they're iconic, so like in Breakfast at Tiffany's, they
Oh,
spark
yes,
trends,
yeah.
and they're
Right.
all original, and that's like a dream. So it's not just the actor, but it's
yeah.
the
And
filmmakers too would like to see.
Well, the other side
Have you
of that
been in
is being on a
this,
museum shoot.
the costumes, I don't know what to call them,
Departments?
costume departments, but it's like a completely off-site location, and it just has, it's like a warehouse, and in the warehouse is, all these sections that are closed off, and like this is like party dresses, or this is this TV show, or this movie set. So, and I remember the first time walking in there, just going, oh my gosh, this is heaven. This
Awesome,
is
yeah.
so cool.
Mhm.
And I really like this. This is fun not to have to wear my own clothes, and they're just gonna say, "Yep, put this on. You're good to go." And
Isn't that great?
But I do
Yes,
love, I
I
do have
do.
to say, the actor that brings me 6 to 8 choices, they are my favorite because they give me so many options.
Yes, and costume design is interesting because a good, resourceful, independent film costumer does both. Some of them have inventory, their own inventory, and because the good ones know how to sew, then they can reconstruct costumes, or they can create as needed, and
that would be
that
really
helps
ideal.
independent
Yeah.
filmmakers who don't have the budget to design everything originally.
And that's where Salvation Army. That's plug for Salvation Army. But on Friday, Saturday, when you have 5 for $5 or 10 items for $5, I made a Victorian costume for a movie called Package from Santa, and my cost for the costume was $4.50. I bought, they were $1 an item. I bought a couple items, I chopped them up, and I turned it into literally a Victorian costume with a bustle. So you can make, you can make $5 costumes.
Right, I know.
But there's no reason why to say, okay, we can't make this film in 1920 because we don't have.
Right.
But most of those costumes start out at $850. If you have a costume designer that can sew, you can make that costume for $5, $5 to $10.
So that's a good thing to know for any independent
yes.
in the area and need to hire a
Which
costumer.
I don't think a lot of independent people know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know
So
that.
now you know
Yes,
that.
they call me the
So there
$5
you
queen.
go.
Okay.
So
But the other
But
thing I was going to
seriously,
say is that being
you
in
can
a
do that.
museum
It's,
shoot
you know,
and
as
having
long as you give. The only problem is when you do that, I need more freedom on coloring and choices like that because.
And often there's a color palette for a scene, so
Yes.
And everything's budget related.
that might, that's true.
It is. But
Yeah.
you know.
So, okay, I want to ask,
Sure.
before we close things out, for you, do you feel like there's hope for your particular
Oh,
skill
absolutely.
set here, and that you see that you're going to be making money soon, or doing productions that
Right.
that's what you want to do, and the people here who can work with you on those, and you feel
Right.
comfortable with that?
Well, I don't know about that making money part, but I'm very confident in my ability to make a good independent film in Michigan. We were talking about moving to LA, living in LA, living in Mission. I would say that I have the same amount of chance of making it, as they say, as an independent filmmaker in Michigan as I do in Los Angeles.
Right.
I would say that if you wanted to be like the best editor or color corrector, I'd probably move to Los Angeles. If you wanted to be the best TV writer, those are the, you can work that ladder individually to in Los Angeles. Like, so you should move to Los Angeles if you want to be a comedy writer or a TV writer. But if you want to make independent films, well, as we already said, you can do that anywhere. And maybe Los Angeles is not the best place to do that.
Right.
So there is opportunity here. And then to answer your other question, there is crew here, as we've seen as the people here. So the crew is there. We are living in this kind of post-incentives environment, but that brought out a lot of talent. Some of which have moved, or some of which have stayed. I think it's just brought the notoriety to that talent. So it's no longer, you're not going to just find that talent on commercials.
Right.
You know?
Right. Exactly.
So it's out there. So if I can find the talent,
right,
then it just has to do with making a good movie.
Right. Well, to comment, it was interesting because Parker and I are co-producing a short film with another producer, and when we went to the casting, I really wasn't sure what to expect from it at all, and I was thinking we're probably going to get a few good people and a few not so good, some really bad ones. I am not kidding you. I was so shocked. Almost everybody was fantastic. I would say there was really only one person that I was like, oh my goodness, you really, I have a suggestion for you for a talent coach. Aida.
Well, I disagree. I thought a lot of them were really bad. Just happened to be some. She's overselling it. There are a lot of bad people.
Well, maybe my expectations weren't that good, but that would be the difference between Parker and me. He would be expecting them to be amazing, but few of them were amazing.
Anyways.
But for the thank you for your
There's always differences of opinion.
Well, and typically Parker and I shouldn't say that. We often have similar approaches to things, not approaches to things, ideas on things, but he is I'm more fluffy. He's not fluffy.
I am very fluffy.
He's been dying to do this, just to come in from behind the camera. Okay, so...
But, John Sayles many years ago, I remember saying, because when I started out in filmmaking, which was back in the days when we shot real film, and it was very much centralized in Los Angeles, and you just expected to go there. But John Sayles, I remember him saying, the independent filmmaker from, I think it's New Jersey, he said, someday filmmaking will be regional, because people can shoot anywhere.
Right.
And, the business is still in Los Angeles, and you have to have the connections that you mentioned earlier. But you can shoot sometimes better in your home environment, for sure.
Right. Well, you're comfortable with it. That's what I think.
And you know it. Right?
Yeah.
And you know who to go to when you need something,
right,
instead of trying to figure out and how far away they are in traffic to get to.
I think
very true.
Plus with internet and video, this is really dating myself, but internet and Facebook and all these other, which I shouldn't be saying names, but the technical part of it, we can network a lot better. Because years ago, it used to be a little 3x5 index card. You'd be calling everyone out. You had to drive everywhere.
Well, yeah, in fact, from Stage 32, I was thinking people who were wanting to contribute compositions. And I thought, well, they're from Britain. Like, oh my gosh, I was like, wow, this can actually happen. And, that I can help somebody from out of the country.
And in the old days, what you would do, and maybe people still...
pardon. We're getting the rolling. We have cutting off time here. So I just want to, I'd want to point out that we'll have everybody's information at the bottom. So if anybody out there is connected with one of us on the panel and you would like to use the services of anyone here, we're all available. Well, to some extent, I'm sure. But this was a great conversation. I wasn't done. I wanted to keep right on going, and could probably we could talk about this forever because it's such a big industry, and obviously we're all passionate about it, which is why we're all here. We love what we do, at least I do. So anyway, well, thank you all for joining.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
It was great.
So thank you very much. And thank you.